Hi all, welcome back to ClueGuru. Now that we have created a remote repo, then we have cloned the remote repo to our local repositories and made the changes to locally in the local repo and then staged it and then committed the same into our remote repositories. This is one of the approach where we have created a remote repositories and cloned the existing remote repositories. Now, what if we have our repositories locally and we have to commit the changes to the remote repositories? This is a vice versa approach. Or else we can also say it as creating like other way of creating a repositories remotely with the existing local repositories. So in that case, now in that case, the approach would be the second one. This is the second approach where we have a local repositories already and we want to create a new remote repositories and commit the existing local repo changes to the new remote repo. So for that, what we'll do is initially we created a repositories in our GitHub account. Now what we'll do is we'll create a repositories in locally here. For that, I'll be creating a new folder. I'll rename it to local. I'll say it as project. I'll say it as project local. This is my local repositories. Currently, I haven't initialized this repositories. To initialize it, I'll open a CMD again here in this directory, which is project local. Inside this repo, I'll initialize the Git. To initialize the repositories, we have a command git init. Sorry, git init. So it says initialized an empty Git repositories. Now the hub Git has been initialized. Now what I'll do is, since it has been initialized, since it has been initialized, I'll just go back to my remote repo. Sorry, I'll go back to GitHub account. I'll create one more remote repositories here in order to commit the existing repositories. Since it says I'll create a new repo, I'll name it as project local only. Project hyphen local. It is done, private one. Here I won't initialize it. If you remember in our previous video, we have just initialized it. I'll say I'll not initialize this repo here. I'll just simply create the repository. Now it's done, and it gives us how to initialize now locally. So since we have already initialized it, git init. Now what I'll do is to the existing repositories where we have initialized it, I'll go there. I'll go back to that repo here, project local. I'll create a new file here. It also suggests that to add a readme file, we don't want this initially. I just execute this command. In order to add this, I have to first create the file. Sorry, I missed that. I don't want a readme file. I'll just simply add one more file here. I'll say it as file1 only. Again, file1.txt. Now this is done. I'll go back. I'll add some messages here in this file. We are committing the we are committing the sorry for the spelling mistakes. We are committing the changes locally and pushing to remote repo. repo. Yeah, that's done. I'll just save this, close this file. This has been now added. I'll open the CMD again. I'll simply say git add and start. Enter. This is done. I'll do git status now just to verify. File 1 has been added. See here, in our remote repository, we haven't initialized it only here. Now I'll simply say we have to set the origin before committing, before pushing the changes. This is what we have to set the origin. It says git remote add the origin and set my remote URL to this, which is GitHub ClueGuru and the project local. This is my remote repo where I have to link it with the local repo. This is the one thing. Before that, I'll just execute the commands one by one. I'll just now commit the message. I'll add a commit message and then I'll create a branch. It says I'm just pointing out a branch here. That's it. Branch has been pointed out. I'll set the remote URL. Remote URL has been set and then git push to our main branch. Done. This would push all our changes to our repository which we created. If I do a refresh here, all our changes would be reflected. If I open the file and view the changes also, right? Here in this file we are committing changes locally and then pushing to remote repo. This is a one more approach how we achieve and set up our repositories in case you wanted to understand. So yeah, thanks for being with us.